Hello everyone, hope all of you are in good health. Firstly, thank you for such an amazing and wonderful response that we have received for the video that was released 2 days back. That is do's and don'ts 5 days before the exam. It would have definitely boosted your confidence, given you a sense of relief, and at the same time given you the right direction that you must be heading to. Right. So in today's video, I won't be taking much time on GAN as such. So I'll be directly getting into the agenda of today's discussion straight. So in today's video, I'll be discussing about the practical aspects, right? The do's and don'ts on the day of the exam, which becomes very crucial, right? So as I've discussed before as well, no matter how many tests you would have solved, how many hours you have put in, how many revisions you would have done, if you're not able to handle those two crucial hours confidently and calmly, and if you're not able to put in your presence of mind and common sense into play, uh, or basically you will be wasting another 1 year, right? Why do I say this? That is, even if you're knowledgeable, if there's no confidence in you, then whenever you are solving the question, right, the self-doubt will creep in. And even though you know that this is the answer, you will think twice, and sometimes you might mark the other answer, or you might leave that question altogether, right? So that is the reason I'm stressing so much on this aspect as such. Now, coming to the do's, the first do, I would call this as hygiene factor. See, hygiene factor is something like which is part of your life, the basic necessity things that you do in your life. Like it can be even a simple example like brushing your teeth daily, or sleeping well, eating right. All these are hygiene factors, right? To carry on your life, on your your day-to-day life activities. Or coming to education, right? If you want to access good materials, good sources, good website, obviously you need internet. So that again comes becomes a hygiene factor. So here on the day of the exam, the hygiene factor, the basic thing that you need to know or understand is you should know your center first, right? So that you one day at least visit your center one day before the exam, so that you know the time taken to travel, right? Accordingly you can book your cabs, all that. Especially this is for non-localites, right? Even for localites, you should leave your house early, right? Don't be overconfident. When I was preparing, right? So once I had to leave my house just 45 minutes before the exam. Thank God that I reached 5 minutes before the exam started. But when I was sitting in the exam hall, right, I realized that I had left my mobile in the auto rickshaw that I had taken. Right. Then soon I took the permission of the ma'am there, invigilator there, and I went searched. Right. You must be. I cannot actually express the emotion that I was going through then. Right. Then when I came back to the exam again, it was like already 8 minutes was over, and the invigilator was so kind that she allowed me. Right. And but still I could clear that attempt. Right. Clear my prelims then. Uh, but see, don't take risks like this, right? Every day cannot be your day, right? I had got a good invigilator. My exam also went well, but every day cannot be your day. So when things are under your control, make sure that you don't mess it up. Fine. And carry your all ticket, a ballpoint pen, your two passport size photos, and your Aadhaar card, ID card, just to be on the safer side. And do carry your phone food, right? Or if not, at least fruits and a water bottle, because the real invigilators now are the corona, right? So it is better you carry your own food and stick to yourself rather than meeting people there, right? And also make sure that you don't make sure that the corona does not accompany you to your home as well, right? Because all these hygiene factors plays an important role, not only to you but also to your family members, right? So that is the reason I've stressed on this aspect. Second thing is, take the blessings of your parents or elders, right? See, whether God is there or not, it's a debatable, altogether a debatable question. But I do strongly believe that there's some positive energy that is actually leading all of us. uh, so we cannot see God, but we can see them in form of our parents, right? Take the blessings. It'll boost your energy, a lot of positive energy, and take the same positive energy into the exam hall, because these are the two most important people in our lives, right? Who will be who want us to be successful at any cost, right? Take the blessings, move with the positive note. Fine. Third most important do is the right attitude. Right attitude in terms of the mindset, in terms of the way you look at life, and in terms of how you handle anxiety. Coming to the first one, that is mindset. Always go to the exam hall with a neutral mindset. Don't have any expectation as such, right? So don't have any preconceived notions, right? Because it might completely backfire, because just because you have read core subjects well doesn't mean that UPSC should ask questions only from core subjects, right? It so happened in 2016-17 where more questions were asked in from current affairs part, right? And then in 18-19 it was more from the static part as such. But don't get into this game of predicting the pattern, because unpredictability is the most common nature of UPSC, right? So don't get into that game. Or say you would have left medieval history and 8 to 10 questions come from medieval history, right? What will happen if you have that preconceived notion that okay, just because you have studied so and so subject doesn't mean that the same questions will come in UPSC. So you should always be prepared. When you go with that neutral mindset, you will be prepared to face any kind of situation, right? So in 2015-16 times, I think more questions had come from medieval history. Fine. So always go to the exam hall with a neutral mindset. That is the attitude that you should be carrying in the exam. Second thing is, don't equate UPSC to your life, because life is much bigger, much bigger than UPSC, right? So if I have to give a comparison, UPSC is just a small marble, right? Whereas the life is a big basketball, right? Or a ball that is used in gyms for exercise, all that, right? So it is as big as that, whereas UPSC is just a small marble. So that should not impact your life as such, right? Because in life there are more important things like your health, mental peace, your relationship, your parents, your friends, right? All of them become more important, right? And the other things like money, fame, influence, power, right? Or beauty as well, right? All this will all this will worn out in the course of time, or will fade away, right? Or they might seem trivial at one point of time. So you guys are, most of you are very young who are taking up this exam, all that. So you need to learn how to prioritize things, right? So don't get bogged down that okay, whether you'll be able to clear this exam or not. And UPSC itself is not life, right? It is much larger, right? You can become an entrepreneur, right? You can come up with a startup, you can become a very good teacher, or you can become at least a decent mentor like me, right? Anything can happen. There was a son of IS officer of AP Cadre. He was the prime force behind the PDS system as we know today. He was very genuine and honest to the core, and his only wish was that his son would carry forward his work. And in fact, his son also gave a couple of attempts, but he could not clear prelims. So saddened by that, he flew to US for his higher studies. He did his MS, he did his MBA. Then he is the person who has redefined the brand of Indian managers in the West. Any guesses? He is none other than the current CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella. Right. So this is what life is. Right. It is very big. You can do bigger things. You can make bigger impact in life. Right. So do remember this. And third thing is how to handle anxiety. Right. So once you sit in the exam hall, obviously you will have that Josh, also you will have that fear, nervousness, that how will the paper be. You will be ready to open that paper and see the questions. So this is the time where you should do this breathing exercise and calm yourself, relax yourself. To breathe in, count 1 2 3 4 5, breathe out, count 1 2 3 4 5, and maintain the same rhythm, right? You'll be more relaxed, and just put your hand on your heart and say all is well. Things will go on really smooth, right? Now you have done everything that is possible from your end. From now onwards, it is just that you have to give your best on that particular day, right? So without worrying about the results, go enjoy and solve the questions. So the next three do's that I'll be discussing now is will be more focused on how to handle this 2 hours calmly and confidently, right? And at the same time, how to manage the time better. So here in the fourth do, gaining the momentum becomes very important. And also make sure that the first you spend at least 2 to 3 minutes on scanning the paper, because it might so happen that you get a series that starts from any of your gray areas. It can be art and culture, again medieval history, or economics, whatever it is, right? And that shouldn't dampen your confidence. So once you keep glancing through, you will find questions that you can answer, and that will give you confidence. I don't think this is a waste of time, but this will give you that confidence. Fine. So it should not be more than 2 to 3 minutes as also. And when you're solving the question, say suppose you're coming from question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're not able to answer it, tell yourself that there are still 95 more questions and you can still clear the exam. So that should be the attitude that you should have. Say again you go to the 6th, 7th, you're not able to get the answer right. So what you have to do is go to the 100th question and start solving from that order: 100, 99, 98. See, what I'm basically trying to tell you is, see from where you can get the momentum. Once you mark one answer in the OMR sheet, right, the confidence level will boost, and you can carry, and that momentum will be carried forward. So that becomes very important. Just like the match that I had mentioned in my previous video, the cricket match that is between Kings 11 and Rajasthan Royals, and the game of Rahul Tewatia, right? So you need to just hang on, and you need to wait for your time, and you need to wait for that particular question from where you will get that momentum, right? Even him, like when he was batting in the first 19 balls, he could just answer 8, right? But later on, with the remaining 12 balls, he was able to score 45 runs, right? So the lessons that we have learned from that particular game, as I said, you need to hang on, believe in yourself, and remain confident, right? Once you have this confidence, this will take you forward, right? And you will be able to solve more questions. So it is all about getting that momentum. Coming to the fifth two, make sure that you read all the 100 questions and options given. Because why do I say that is, sometimes it might so happen that you're not able to understand or decipher the question, but when you're looking at the options given, there'll be a slight hint where you'll get to know this can be the answer. So this is where the presence of mind will come into play, right? There'll be always 2 to 3 questions like this, so keep an eye on such questions. And in the first round, make sure that you, wherever you're 100% confident, or even you're 90% confident, mark all of them. And in the second round, you can take up questions where you are 50% or 25% confident. So these are the questions that you can attempt in the second round. So say at least 1 or 2 rounds, I think, is required when you are answering the question paper. Coming to the CSAT, you can follow, there are people who are good in maths, so they choose only the maths questions. People who are good in English, they choose only the English questions first. So that can also be a pattern. I mean, that can also be a practice, right? Your strategy. There's also one more strategy which will also work out well. That is like, even UPSC, if you have observed it, unlike other competitive exams, like it is not like all the English questions are put together, all the maths questions are put together. It doesn't work like that. Say first 2 questions are on maths, the next 3 questions can be on English, and the fourth question, and the next question can be on logical reasoning. This is how the pattern of UPSC is. So you can follow the same pattern, right? You can say suppose you're good in maths, you attempt the first 2, then you look at the passages. Say one passage is like, there's a simple passage and an option given, you must attempt that instead of leaving that and coming back again. Instead of that, what you can do is you can attempt one of the questions there and move on to the next question where it's on logical reasoning. So that can be the pattern that you can follow, right? What I'm trying to tell you, and also these are the places where you should use your presence of mind. Say there'll be big passage and only one question will be asked, you can leave that and go to the next question where there's a small passage and 2 questions are asked. You need to pick and choose like that. So follow the same pattern, so that because it might happen that, okay, there's shortage of time and you cannot come back to the question again. So reading all the questions in CSAT also becomes very important, because you will know which is a simple question, or so that can be answered in that same flow itself, right? This is the other thing that I wanted to mention. And coming to the sixth do, that is about elimination method, that should be used, because even the most well-read person can attempt only around 45 to 48 or max 50 questions. The rest of the question that he or she attempts will be based on elimination technique itself, right? So coming to the elimination technique, first preference should always be given to, I have come up with this approach called as KCT approach, where K stands for knowledge, C for common sense, T for elimination technique, that is usage of extreme words or possible words, right? So when you're eliminating, because why do I say that, why should you give importance to knowledge first, common sense, and then that order is because UPSC has also started playing around with that usage of extreme words like none, every, always, right, should, must, right? Or possible words like could, should, maybe, some, few, right? So these are the places where you can look at those extreme and possible words and mark the answers accordingly, right? But sometimes UPSC also plays with this, so that is the reason first always you should give importance to the knowledge aspect of it. Your knowledge should be given your first priority, then use a common sense. Even if that is not working, then you should give priority to this usage of extreme words or possible words, right? That should be the approach that you need to follow when you are eliminating, right? I've also made a video on that, so if you have time you can do watch that. There are 3 videos made on that. At least the first video, at least you can watch that. Fine. So now that we are done with the 6 important do's, now let's get into the don'ts of it. Again, there are 6 don'ts in this, and the first 2 things is again comes under the hygiene factors, the basic part of it. Do not make mistake in the attendance sheet, right? See, what happens is with all of us, right, when you're marking and the invigilators come in between, most of the students, with their expression itself, you see, I can say that you are frustrated, right, or you're irritated when people come, but that is their duty, right? So accept, you need to, in life you need to accept certain things, right? So you cannot do away with that. Your signature is important because that tells that you have come and attended the exam, right? That becomes important. So when you're signing, make sure that your roll number, your name and your signature, everything is in the same proper order, right? So that becomes important. So this comes under again the hygiene factors as such, right? Though they may not impact your performance in the exam, but these are basic necessities that is required, right? So marking, putting your signature in the attendance sheet, or even the OMR sheet, right? Make sure that you cross check at least 2 times your roll number, because this has happened with one of my students, that okay, he had marked his roll number wrong, and one of them did not even mark his roll number because he thought he'll fill up the OMR sheet at the end. So all these things, right, this will make a huge impact, even though you would have performed well, but if you not put your roll number properly, then nobody can help you in that, right? The other thing with OMR sheets, it's filling is, don't keep this filling at the end, right? Some people, what they do is they try to mark the answers on the question paper, and finally they try to transfer that in the last 10 minutes or so. Never do this, never ever do this, because during that pressure situation, during that crucial time, you never know what will happen. Say suppose even if you miss out marking one particular question, the next entire sequence, right, it will be completely wrong, right? So so instead of that, either you get, say suppose you're getting that answer right, quickly you can mark that on the OMR sheet. That is one strategy. What I used to do is, usually when you look at UPSC paper, there are 4 to 5 questions in the same page. So what I used to do is, I used to make sure that I answered all of them on the paper, and I used to, at the same time, before going to the next page, returning my page, I used to transfer all those for 3 questions or 4 questions directly to my OMR sheet. That can also be done. So you can try out that as well. Fine. And coming to the third don't, this is one of the most important don't. Don't over attempt, right? Just because your seniors or some toppers have advised and told that okay, you have to attempt 90 questions no matter what, right? I'll completely say no to it, because every person is unique, and each person has his own strategy, right? So you shouldn't copy somebody else. Instead of that, see what kind of person you are, whether you are a person with greater accuracy or a person with lesser accuracy. I'll give you 2 conditions here. One person attempts 70 questions and gets 10 questions wrong, right? So that comes up to 70, 10, it comes up to the net score is 114, right? And there's one more person who attempts 90 questions and gets say 20, 25 questions wrong, right? Even that person's, if you calculate, the net score is 114. It is somewhere around 114, 115. So both of the people are clearing this exam, right? So here you need to understand that this person with greater accuracy is attempting only 70, but still is clearing the exam. A person with lesser accuracy is attempting 90 questions, but still is clearing the exam. So that should be, that is how you should think. It is not about answering more questions. It is about what kind of person you are, whether you are a person with greater accuracy or lesser accuracy. And the other thing that I want to tell you is the minimum number of questions to be attempted. Going by the trend last 5-6 years, going by the competition, at least you should attempt 70 to 75 questions at least, right? So maximum number is left to you, but what I would like to say is the minimum number of questions that you can attempt, that you should be attempting, is 70 to 75. Is that clear? Fourth don't is, don't ever get overwhelmed or feel low when you are attempting the questions. So emotional intelligence plays a very important role here. See, what happens is, see, I'm trying to give you all the practical examples here. You might laugh when you hear this, but still, this is how it is. This is how it happens as well. You are, say, you're getting a few questions, right, and you get, say, continuously 7 8 questions, right? Some students start thinking about the processions, the garland, the ceremony, the interview that they'll be giving after clearing the exam. So you should never ever think about that, right? Your only focus should be on the questions there. Or it can be the other way around. Say suppose you're not able to get 7 questions, 8 questions, 10 questions, right? You're not able to attempt at all. Obviously your confidence level will keep low, and you will start thinking about your parents. What you'll your what how will you answer your parents, your friends, or the most dangerous people to answer is your relatives, isn't it? Right? So so stop thinking on those lines and focus on the questions that is in the paper. So that becomes very important. See, in one of the interview to Virat, an interviewer asked Virat Kohli, what is the difference between the consistent Kohli right now and the inconsistent Kohli in the initial part of his career. And Virat Kohli went on to say that I used to focus, he just gave one line which said, I used to focus on the crowd earlier and now I focus on the ball. So here the crowd is the relatives, your parents, your friends, right? Your garland ceremonies, your processions, your interview in the TVs, all that. So the crowd can be both positive and negative here. But the ball here is the question at hand, right? So there are 100 balls. So there are 100 balls, in the sense there are 100 questions in front of you, and you should play you should play that ball according to the merit of the ball. So it means according to the merit of the difficulty of the question, you need to answer it. When it is a tough question, you need to know where to duck or where to leave that ball, right? Just like a game of cricket, right? When it is a bouncer or when you cannot play, you need to leave that ball. So, but still you can go on to score a century, right? So that is how UPSC exam is also. You need to know when to leave that question and which question to attempt, which question not to attempt, right? Even the risk that you will be taking in the exam, it depends on the difficulty level of the paper, right, and your confidence level. All this matters in attempting the number of questions. The fifth don't is, don't let ego play the spoil sport here. This usually happens in CSAT paper, especially for engineers who come from BTech background. They see a question and they try to solve for 5 minutes and they're not able to get, and that it's their ego, and they think, okay, how the hell can I not answer this particular question? Let me answer and move. Though you might answer, but the time taken is 10 minutes for a single question. That means you will not be able to cover the other questions, complete paper, you will not be able to see all the questions completely, right? So this can happen. So don't let ego play the spoil sport here. At the end of the day, you need to realize that you need not top the exam. You need to just clear the cutoff. Even by a whisker, if you do, even by 0.01 you do or 0.1 you do, still you are clearing the exam, right? That is how you should think. The best examples would be Ira Singhal or Tina Dabi, right, who just cleared by a whisker and went on to, just by 1 mark, and went on to top the exam, right? If you want to top, obviously there's mains and interviews waiting for you. You can do all that strategy, put that strategy there, but not in prelims exam. Coming to the sixth don't is, never ever discuss about the cutoff or what happened in the exam hall or whatever it is. Anything that is related to exam, never ever do that, especially in those break hours. You have 2 to 3 hours between the GS paper 1 and the CSAT paper, right? Never ever do that. In fact, Corona is a blessing in disguise this time, right? Because you will be staying and sticking to yourself, right? Because what I've seen is there are two set of people here again. Few people come out and say, how the hell can UPSC give such a simple paper? I just completed the paper in just 1.5 an hour, right? So say suppose you happen to sit just next to that person and you overhear him, right? Just what will happen to your confidence, right? Though you would have done much better than that guy or girl, you would have taken 2 hours to complete the paper, right? So all this, right, also matters. And say there's another category of people where they'll put themselves down, right? Usually the friends, right, especially in the friend circle, they do that. And if seeing your friend, you also feel that okay, you feel pity for him or her, and you feel that both of you are in the same boat. But it so happens that when the results come, your friend would have cleared it. This also happens. So this is the other category of people. And see, all the small comedies keep happening, right? Instead of taking this very seriously, all that, right, you should have that emotional intelligence to manage all these emotions, right? You need to know that these are the kind of people they are, and you need to accept that. And most importantly, you need to accept yourself and believe in yourself. This exam does not require a superman or a superwoman to clear, right? To clear this exam, it does not require that. So it's finally you that will be helping yourself, right? So believe in yourself, stay calm, and the rest of the things will fall in place as you always want it, right? And you will definitely do well. And the main journey will be definitely more exciting than this. We'll all be waiting for you to join us in the next lab with our TLP program, the most trusted program for IS Baba for mains. Fine. And for now, just live in the moment, forget about everything, and just focus on the prelims exam. Now you've uh, put in all your efforts, done whatever it takes for to clear this exam. Now the only thing that is left for you is go there, be your best, right? Go there and celebrate yourself, uh, give your best, and without worrying about the results. That is the only funda that you should have. And before I wind up this, right, I would wind up this with a very positive quote which says, trust yourself, you know more than what you think you do. This quote will definitely aid you and help you in the exam, because once you look at the question, you'll be able to recollect and identify the right answer. And prelims is all about identifying the right answer, right? So you have to just be in that zone, and that momentum is what is more important here, right? So have a strong faith in yourself and in your abilities, because that is much bigger than the issue at hand, right? Walk the path with confidence. God will bless you with all the positivity and good things. I'll pray to God that you will all do well, and all the best.